Hey everyone, and welcome back. So I'm doing my favorite releases of 2023. Now I'm specifically saying favorite because these may not, I wouldn't consider all of these to be the best releases of 2023, at least from a technical standpoint. So obviously these are basically films that I love and they got a release and that they at least made me happy. So those are my picks. These are the reason why I'm calling this my favorite releases and not the best releases of 2023. And also I do want to say that there aren't any studio releases on my list because, especially with new films, pretty much like most new films are going to look great on disc anyway. Like Oppenheimer or Mission Impossible or something, like those look fantastic on disc, and it's like, you wouldn't expect otherwise. Now if there's a restoration of an older film, that is something I would consider, but at least for the list for this year, there aren't any studio releases on here. And before I get started, I also want to say that I didn't put them in a numbered order, except for my top 5. My top 5 are actually numbered. There are 15 titles total, so number 6 through 15 are actually, I just decided to do them in alphabetical order. And even my top 5, it's not like one is technically better than the other. It's just like, but I kind of figured like the top 5 should be numbered. It's sort of the point of having a list as well. So I wanted to say that up front as far as how I put this list together. And I went through everything. I'm sure there are releases that have come out that are probably amazing, probably would make my list. Either A, I haven't bought it yet, or B, I haven't watched it yet. I tried to go through my unwatched pile as much as I could, but there are still a couple releases that I still haven't gotten to yet. And I didn't want to delay this video any further. So with all that being said, let's just dive right in. So first off, I am going to actually give two just special mentions, as it were. The first one, I was actually going to put on my list, but I was like, you know what, I'd probably not. Because it's like, I don't know, it's just me, but I know a lot of you already know that I was very happy when this got a 4K release, and it is indeed Rawhead Rex from Kino. luckily a couple of you kind of share it with me, but like I have mad love for this film. So obviously I did want to mention it because obviously I'm super happy this did get a 4K release. And the other special mention is who did this? Ignite Film? Yeah, Ignite Films 4K release and Blu-ray release of the original Invaders from Mars, which did get they did a full restoration of the film as best they could, and thank goodness they did, because this film was pretty much deteriorating and it probably wouldn't be that much longer before it may have gotten to a point where it wouldn't even be salvageable. So thank goodness for them that they were able to save this film. So I definitely wanted to mention this one real quick and give a very special shout out to all the work that they did on this release and to save the film. And now we move into the next 10. So technically it would be 6 through 15. And these are the ones that I am doing in alphabetical order. I didn't want to number them like I did the top 5. So starting off with the first one on the list, again, going in alphabetical order, is the 4K release of The Burning from Scream Factory. I was actually really impressed by this. The 4K transfer looks amazing because this was, The Burning was one of their early releases when they first started. And that was using, even though that looked decent at the time, it was still using an older HD master for that release. So this is, I believe, the first time this film has gotten like a really brand new transfer in like so long, and it shows. Absolutely loved it. The transfer looks great. It ports over, luckily, all the extras, so a fantastic release. And next up from Cauldron Films is their 4K Blu-ray release of Lucio Fulci's City of the Living Dead, aka The Gates of Hell. And this is just an amazing release. Some of you may remember from my review. And even then, actually, I'm kind of thinking like back on my review. Like technically, I would probably even rate it actually even higher than I did, because this is an amazing release. This is one of those films that I really wasn't sure how well this was going to do, because this is, the original elements are a little problematic, and somehow Cauldron Films was able to really restore this film in an amazing way. Really make it look better than I ever thought possible. Plus the audio sounds great. It's got so many fantastic extras. This is definitely easily one of my favorite releases of the year. So kudos to Cauldron Films for all their hard work on this release. Definitely well deserved because it's amazing. And next up is the Vinegar Syndrome release of David Cronenberg's Existenz, which I did mention in my pickups video, so I'm not going to go too far into it. But obviously this is a release I was pretty happily surprised. Got a 4K release and happy that it was from Vinegar Syndrome. It is an amazing release, even though the hairy belly cover... Let me just take this off. Actually, I kind of prefer the incisive cover anyways. So, but yeah, this is an amazing release. Definitely one I highly recommend. And also, if you've never seen Existenz, or if you've seen it, but it's been a very long time, I really recommend checking it out or checking it out again, because I think, this film was made in like the late 90s, and I think especially with gaming and the way games are now and where it looks like they're going, I think this film is actually way ahead of its time. So yeah, definitely one I was super happy to get in 4K and well worth the wait. A fantastic release from Vinegar Syndrome. Next up from MVD is the 4K release of Ghoulies. This was I mentioned before, I love Ghoulies. It was one of those films I saw like really young, so I have a strong fondness for it, and the fact that I got a 4K release from MVD, I was very happy. But I think this actually looks fantastic in 4K. Now, obviously, the limitations of the low budget film and all that. But if you take all that into consideration, I was really blown away by how nice this 4K release is. And the fact that it has so many of the pre-existing special features on it as well. It's just an amazing release. So kudos to MVD for really doing an amazing job on their 4K releases. And next up is one I was really happy got a 4K release, as some of you guys may remember. And that is indeed from Arrow, the 4K release of The Last Starfighter, which honestly is a part of me that wasn't even sure this would ever get a 4K release. Because even though it does have a very strong fan base, with myself included, I wasn't sure if it was strong enough for them to warrant a 4K release, but I am really happy that they did go back and give this a 4K release. Not only does it have a bunch of great extras, but even audio options. It has the original stereo track, it's got a 5.1 remix track, but also has the original, I believe it was the original 70mm 4.1 audio option as well. So just a really great release. And again, for a childhood, I guess a lot of these are childhood favorites, but this one is another one. A great release from Arrow for this one, which made me very happy. And moving right along for the alphabetical order ones is the 4K release from Kino of the Monster Squad. A lot of us have been waiting a long time for kind of a re-release of the Monster Squad on home video. And the fact that we got a 4K release with so many extras, and it was just an amazing release. The transfer is fantastic. I mean, definitely another one that was well worth the wait. And I'm glad that when the time came, it was done properly. So yeah, if you have not picked up the Monster Squad in 4K, highly recommend it. This was definitely an easy one to add to this list. I guess technically all these were, but still. And moving right along, the next one from Shout Factory, or Shout Studio, I think is actually what they're called now. The 4K release of Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. This was a fantastic release. In fact, this almost made it to my top 5. Kind of went back and forth, but I kind of... when it gets to the top 5, it'll make sense. But for this one, I was really blown away by how nice this release is for a couple of reasons, especially with the fact that, Natural Born Killers was filmed with so many different types of formats, 35mm film, I think 16mm film, possibly, I know Super 8 film, video, just all different kinds of formats, and the fact that the film looks as good as it does, despite all that. It's got a really great lineup of extras as well. I was hoping for a really nice release for this film, and indeed, at least for me, I kind of felt we got it. So, and again, very close to being number 5 on my list. Next up, the other 4K release from MVD is Swamp Thing, which actually, I think, if I remember correctly, I think this was their first 4K release. And just like with Ghoulies, it just looks fantastic. I wasn't expecting it to look as good as it does. And MVD just right out of the gate came out with just this fantastic release. And again, it's got all kinds of extras, and plus you do have, both cuts of the film, which is a good thing. And I think I speak for a lot of us. I'm very happy it is the international cut is on here, but really an amazing release, and to just hit it out of the park right out of the gate with their first 4K release. Yeah, this was definitely an easy one to get to add to my list. And next up is the 4K release from Troma box set of the Toxic Avenger films. This is just a great set. It, as I mentioned in my pickups video, a while back, not only do the films themselves look and sound great, but also, again, it ports over, if not all, at least almost all of the previous extras from, like, Blu-ray releases, DVD releases, going way, way back. And again, the films look so good. I mean, I was not expecting like a release like this to ever come from the Toxic Avenger films, but indeed we have it, and yeah, so definitely an easy one to add to the list. And then finally, at least for the alphabetical order, is the Severin 4K release of Zombie Holocaust, aka Dr. Butcher MD. I wasn't sure which letter I should go with, but I decided to end with this one with a Z. And this is a great release too. Again, it ports over pretty much all the extras from their old Blu-ray release. And the fact that it has both cuts of the film, again, Dr. Butcher as well as the original Zombie Holocaust cut. And the thing is, the film looks as good as it can. It's the kind of thing where I believe some of the elements are unfortunately gone. So like a third of the film, plus minus, comes from a print. It's kind of obvious it comes from a print. And the other 2/3 comes from, I don't know, probably not the negative, but maybe it's like an inner negative or inner positive, because it does look great for those 2/3. The 1/3 from the print, it looks like it comes from a print, but honestly, that's all you have to work with. So definitely no fault from Severin on that by any means. If anything, they're giving this film like a whole new life. So great release from Severin, and definitely one that I wanted to add to my list. And now we do, in fact, move into the top 5, and these are the ones that I decided to number, even though, honestly, all 5 of these are great. But I kind of figured, like, it's a list. At least some of these should be numbered. So coming in at number 5 is from Vinegar Syndrome, the 4K release of Stuart Gordon's From Beyond, which was an amazing, amazing release. It's how Vinegar Syndrome kicked off 2023, and what a great way to kick it off. I remember especially watching it in 4K that first time after it came in. Like, it just looked so incredible, and just like how amazing it really held the colors, because there's a lot of color in this film, and an amazing assortment of extras. It's just a fantastic release, and easily one of my favorites of the year. So yeah, happy to have this one at number 5. So moving on to number 4, and this is one I went back and forth. Not that it wasn't going to be on my list, but as far as like 3 and 4, I wasn't sure, but at the end of the day, I had to go with personal reasons. But I can say that, if I had to, the two would be very, very close. So coming in at number 4 is the 4K release from Second Sight Films of George Romero's Martin. Really blown away by this release. I mean, it would have been nice if it had that, that longer cut, but honestly, they tried to, and I don't know if that's something that we'll ever get to see. So I'm not going to fault them for not having it on here. But since the film was shot on 16mm reversal, the fact that it even looks as good as it does is incredible. But all the extras are here, including the original audio commentary track from the Anchor Bay DVD that was, I think it was done back in like 2000 or something, which is actually a fantastic audio commentary track, and I'm really happy they were able to include it on this release as well. So a fantastic assortment of extras. Whether or not you get the limited edition set like this one, or even just a standard release, like, I highly, highly recommend it, and easily my top 5 for the year. Coming in at number 3, which I'm sure will surprise none of you. Well, it may surprise you that it isn't like my number 1, which I kind of debated, but I was like, let me not have all these titles, specifically just personal favorites, as far as where they land on the list, at least with the top 5. So in number 3, it is indeed from Scream Factory, the 4K release of Creepshow, one of my favorite films, getting a 4K release. And this was, some of you know, I was so nervous about this release because I wanted this to be as perfect as possible. And in my opinion, they did it. They nailed this so well. And including the weird audio issue that was in the 5.1 track on their old Blu-ray release, that's been fixed here. And it has 3 audio options. So it has the original stereo option, that 5.1 mix, but now they fixed that pitch issue or whatever was messed up up there. And it has a new Dolby Atmos track. So definitely got plenty of audio options. And the picture, luckily, looks amazing. And it ports over all the extras from before. Honestly, I think the only reason why it's not number one, and this is where I have to be a little bit more, sort of honest with certain things, is if this had like some sort of deluxe packaging with, maybe a couple extras or something. I'm not talking about the bundle, which obviously I got the bundle with, the posters and stuff. But I mean, just like in this release itself, easily this would have been number one. But obviously, as one of my favorite films, I could not be happier with this 4K release of Creepshow. And coming in at number two, and I have to say that 2 and number 1 were... I was actually originally going to have them tied, but I was like, it's one thing to do a tie for like a lower number, but when it comes to number 1, like you don't want to tie. You really want to kind of separate them. So these are separated literally by a hair. But so coming in at number 2 is the Arrow box set of Hellraiser 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4K release. This thing is just incredible. I mean, the transfers are amazing. The extras, it's just everything that comes with this set. All the work that went into it really, really shows off. I mean, it is kind of a shame that it is UK only. I know in the US, I think the rights are a little bit more complicated. So if you're outside of the UK, definitely import this one. As I mentioned before, this is getting re-released in a sort of non-deluxe version, but the discs are the same, so that's also one way to get the set, a little bit cheaper. But an absolutely incredible thing, especially the first 2 films. I never thought they would look as good as they do. So easily number 2, and then number 1 is the also from Arrow is their 4K set of Psycho 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, just like with Hellraiser, they're also re-releasing this set with only the sequels, not the first film. Again, UK only, but obviously if it's, you should be able to find it if you're outside of the UK. This set is incredible and amazing. Again, this one and the Hellraiser set were just neck and neck. I think the only reason why I decided to go with this one with number 1 is mainly because, like, with Hellraiser, I love Hellraiser 1 and 2, and I like Hellraiser 3 and 4. With the Psycho films, I love Psycho 1, 2, and 3, and I like Psycho 4. So it literally just kind of came down to that. But as far as this set goes, all 4 films, I mean, the first film is the previous Universal 4K release, which looks great. But even just with the sequels, they all got new transfers. They look amazing. The extras are fantastic. And honestly, it's just a really, really great set. If you're a fan at all of the Psycho films, I mean, I can't recommend this set enough. And as much as I really wanted to have Creepshow as my number 1 pick, I mean, the thing is, as I was watching this set, I mean, I was just constantly just blown away by it. So honestly, this one definitely deserves my number 1 pick for the releases of 2023. So again, those are my favorite picks for 2023. I should say sort of my top 15, sort of, even though 10 of them were not in any specific order outside of alphabetical. And again, I'm sure there were other releases that probably would be on my list, only because they may not have as much personal meaning for me as a lot of these films do. Or I haven't gotten it yet, or honestly, I may have it, but I haven't watched it yet. So it's like, just kind of take that into consideration. But yeah, so that kind of more or less, anyway, wraps up 2023. Let me know your thoughts on some of these, or if you have any questions about any of them, if you're looking to pick some of them up, definitely let me know. Try and answer them as best I can. If you want to list some of your favorites from 2023, definitely I would love to see what you guys had picked. And now we move on to 2024, and yeah, I can't wait to see all the releases that we're getting and hopefully getting this year. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.